Hey, we're chasing records, and you're watching On the Record with guest today, Crystal McGrath.
And our podcast is sponsored by South River Brewing Co. And I've cracked another one of these Blacksmith smoked porters, delicious beers. Once again, still put your orders in $50 or more, get you free shipping. And obviously, go on to their IG account. They do have some promos running as well. And enjoy the pod. All right, we're here with another podcast, and today we have Crystal McGrath. How's it going tonight?
Hello. I'm great. How are you guys?
It's good. It's good. You're from Calgary, right?
Calgary, Alberta.
Yeah.
Oh, right
Are
on.
you a
That's
Flames?
Canada.
Are you a Flames fan by chance?
You know, I'm not really any fan of sports.
Okay,
That's a good
well,
answer.
that's a good answer, I guess.
Yeah,
I
that's a good
just-
answer.
Neutral. The only reason why I asked is because when I was reading through and that you toured with George Canyon, and he does all the Flames.
Anthem.
He does the anthem, right? So yeah, I'm a huge Flames fan. I live London, Ontario kid. Became a Flames fan because of my nephew. He gave me a sweater, I think when I was 5.
Yeah.
It was a knit sweater. I put it on and fell in love. And then I found out later on that my brother, who lived in Edmonton, coached Jerome McGinley for a few years
Oh,
as a
cool.
kid. So it's kind of neat afterwards. And my dog's name is Iggy. So after a
So
game.
we have a hockey fan in the house.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously, if you don't have if you not a hockey fan necessarily or take sides, then that's okay too. It's all good.
I'm neutral. You know, I like
Neutral.
watching the playoffs, the final games,
Yeah.
when it's like heated and you know it was cool when Calgary was in the playoffs many years ago when the whole city turned into the Red Mile. And it was just the funnest place to be. That I was a hockey fan then.
That was the 90s. That was like 1990, right?
I don't think it was that long.
2003, I think.
What?
2003? Yeah.
2000.
Oh,
Early.
shit. Sorry. The last time they won the Stanley Cup was 1990, right?
The Flames didn't win one until 88, 89.
Oh, see, I was right there. See, I was right. That's what I meant. Sorry, I didn't mean
Okay.
the playoffs.
It's okay.
I'm a Leafs
No.
fan. We don't know what we're doing. It's just,
No, I was gonna say you don't even have a cup in color, so
whatever. Anyway.
anyways, let's get on to some music. Well, there's some music
Sports
talk there
and
with George
music.
Canyon.
I like
But, yeah, exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
I heard your latest single today. Game On.
Yeah.
Those boots, eh?
Right?
Those
They
sparkly
like it.
boots. Yeah.
Yeah.
That all makes sense now. Was that shot in Calgary?
It was, yeah. We had a street closed off and built an LED floor in the middle of the road and
That's cool.
overlooked downtown. So it was filmed in Calgary. It actually made it to the Calgary events page, the Instagram page, and I think there was like hundreds of thousands of views of this video because people were walking by taking pictures and they're like, "What is going on?"
Yeah. No,
and that was before it even came out. So
it's a great video. It's getting a lot of views. A lot of people are digging it. It's a great sound. I like that. I thought it was great. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. I think it's really a good song. How people reacted to it? It's kind of like a poppy country hit.
it's very pop country,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I'm a pop country girl at soul, so I gotta let that shine and sparkle as
through.
much as I can. Yeah, it was great. So we released it in September to Canadian radio. It was on Sirius Top 40, and then we launched it actually in Australia as well, and where it was added to over I think 250 stations over there to their commercial and
Wow.
radio. So yeah, we've had a good run with it, and yeah.
And obviously, you haven't been able to tour with it though, right? That'd have been the
No.
downfall.
Which is, you know, honestly, the whole situation, how we're doing things like this now, it kind of opened a lot more doors, I think, than maybe if we didn't have this opportunity, because I was able to connect with so many people who are at home doing the exact same thing, like, you know, not having people come into the studio for interviews. So no need to travel, just do interviews over Zoom and over the phone and Instagram Live. And it's just really been neat how it's created all sorts of different kinds of opportunity than maybe we would have had 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's we talked about it before, but we don't think we'd ever be in this position. We don't even know if we'd be making music together, Andrew and I, if it hadn't been for what had happened to be locked down and whatnot. And honestly, we've loved this podcast format just to be able to connect with other people, and like you said, around the world, like Australia, the UK. It's unbelievable, across Canada. We don't have to leave our comforts of our own home. Although I would love to come down your ways, to be honest. I've never been out west, so.
Well, when the world reopens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, we were planning on going the summer of obviously in last March. We were supposed to go down and do Calgary and Edmonton. We were going to fly all the way out to Abbotsford and then work our way back and try and hop into Seattle. But obviously, things had other plans.
Next year.
Next year, exactly. Next year. Yeah.
Instead, you recorded an album instead. That's what happened.
We
instead.
recorded an album.
So,
exactly. See, and like you said, it opened up other doors, right?
It was okay.
Exactly. And I think when we focus on life and situations like that, it makes processing what's happening a lot easier. I mean, no one's enjoying what's happening right now, but if we can find ways to pivot and do different things and get creative with our skill sets, then at least we're still moving forward in some capacity.
Absolutely. So have you still been recording then?
So actually, I just I received a grant from the Alberta government to record my next EP. So we just were in the studio last weekend and recording the next 5 songs that we're going to release throughout the year. So new music coming very soon, which I'm super excited. This is probably my best work I've ever done. So I'm very excited to get it out.
That's so cool. We were just told by my brother to actually apply for a grant for the same reason. But we never recorded in a studio. We record from our houses. Yeah. So I don't know if the grant would go towards, or we don't have to tell them. Maybe it's like, yeah, give us a grant. But that's what we were told to do, and it seems like the best way to go. And then you go in the studio, and it's like you have to worry about how long something takes. Well, within reason. Yeah. So are you releasing it like an EP, or is it going to be all singles? Because we have this debate before you answer. We had this debate with everybody, like a lot of people that come on here, and just kind of different like strategies to release music.
I find it so interesting.
Yeah, we tried. Well, our thing was we're going to release a whole 14-track album as like a debut. And then we pivoted last second. We did a pivot and we went, no, we'll do 2 EPs and then release the full album. And we don't think that was the best way to go. No one knew who the hell we were or why they would listen. So maybe singles were the way to go. Full albums seemed to be the last resort, apparently, because unless you have a following, it doesn't really get heard. But yeah, so what are your thoughts? Our thoughts are we thought we should have probably stopped and did singles and then maybe released an EP and then, and had all the singles in the EP. But yeah, what's your battle plan?
It's so interesting. There's so many ways to do it. And we talk about this all the time. The industry is constantly changing, especially now. I mean, you go back 10 years and 20 years, records were being put out. And there was a formula to the record and the sound. You listen from song 1 all the way through to song 10 or 15 or whatever number it was. And now we have streaming things. So people are not listening to the story of the EP or the album. They're just listening to it on shuffle or on playlists or as singles, like in a playlist, right? Yeah. So I find that very interesting, just even when we were talking about what song order, and it's just so odd to start thinking like, oh yeah, cool. That's how music used to be. We were telling stories with EPs and albums. And I love that. I don't want that to ever fade away. I think it's just a really important part of the musical journey to share different aspects and different sounds and different stories, right, throughout the journey. So I'm a big fan of releasing EPs and albums, but I really think in this world, we have to release singles prior to the official EP release because you want to build buzz. And right now we're using social media to build buzz and outlets like that. So what are people talking about? How can you get people excited? How can you prolong the excitement? Because once an album's out, it's out. So if you don't utilize all the time you can to hype it up, to promote it, then if you don't have a PR plan or a marketing plan behind it, then it just kind of goes into the world of streaming.
And
right?
And that's exactly what we found with our first, even the second EP, is that the 2 singles that did, really well, considering no one knew who we were. But then you start seeing these stats on the, from songs 1 through 5, that 5th song is pretty lonely. And you as well, is that you put all that heart and soul into it and you think no one's ever going to hear it, right? Unless, magic happens and then people want to go back, and that would be fantastic. But at the same time, you feel, there's some great tracks on there that just kind of get left behind. So yeah, you're right. I think it's the way to go, is a single method and then EP and then maybe eventually compile it into an album, right?
Exactly. I'm all about that method, that strategy. Yeah. And having a plan is so important. I mean, you can't just put out a record and then release. You have to record, plan, execute, plan, and then release. You know,
Yeah.
there's just such a process to it. And I think sometimes, especially as creatives, we want to just get our art out into the world without that
True.
business mindset behind it. And I just really think it's so important. If there's any lesson I can share with the world is, you know, have a plan for your business, because this is a business, right?
Yeah,
This is the second time this has really come up in terms of it
Yeah.
being, you know, as much as we're all in it, you know, to make music, but at the end of the day, especially if it's going to be your livelihood, then it needs to be run as a business.
Absolutely.
You know, Andrew and I have full-time jobs, so right now we don't have to necessarily, you know, rely on it as a business, but it certainly is something that's in the back of your mind going, okay, but if we were ever to turn and go, okay, let's try and do something with it in terms of a business, then you need to have a legitimate plan. So I think you're absolutely right. You make some really good points there. But and then the scary part is too, though, once you have that plan and with the unknowns that are happening right now, is to what happens when it comes to playing, and if playing is even available, right?
Yeah, and that's so true. I mean, last year I had a whole plan for Game On to come out way earlier in the year, and I had a whole tour planned, and you know, it was the first time I really took a long time to plan something, and then this happened. And I just found that very ironic, because I'm very used to my whole life. I'm just like, let's do this, let's do that, all over the place. So it was easier for me, I guess, to be like, okay, that plan didn't work. Let's try something different, because it's kind of, I'm a gypsy soul. Just a little different.
Are you picking up that tour or planning to, once this is all, whenever this ends? Are you going to right on it?
Yeah, you know what? I think when it comes to touring, I think that's a day by day thing. It's hard to plan anything.
Hmm.
We don't know when that's going to be a thing
Yeah.
again, playing live music and traveling, doing so. So I think it'll come day by day, and we'll just take it as it comes, is kind of where I'm at. But I can't wait to play live music and tour and go over to Australia and play music for everyone over there. So
Oh, that's
That'd be
awesome.
really neat. So do you right now in Calgary, is there anything opening in terms of live music right now?
no, no
No,
live music.
nothing, eh?
Quiet city.
Yeah, we're the same here in London, Ontario. There's not much happening, and I don't know. I feel like we're going to be going the other way very shortly if things don't turn around. So, you know, the plans of maybe having some type of summer opportunity of an outdoor show, Andrew and I was talked about, is like if we have any shot of playing, it's probably going to be outside.
Yeah.
It's probably the safest bet, right? And we're very fortunate because we do have quite a few festivals here throughout the summer. But the
Yeah.
question is, a lot of those artists that even come in for the festivals are not necessarily from London, Ontario. They're from all over the place and come in and travel in. So that could be another issue altogether, and whether whether they'll happen or not. So yeah,
Yeah.
Going to be very interesting to
it
see
sure is. It
how
sure is.
things unveil and change and shift, because I don't think things will ever be the same as how they were pre-COVID
No.
quarantine times. I think we've all learned different tools and methods and ways to work, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we continue to apply those as the world kind of shifts back into normalcy.
Yeah, I used to think like whenever you saw someone wearing a mask like 2 years ago, you're like, what the fuck's wrong with that guy? Why is he wearing a mask? And now it's like it's all the opposite. It's like, the guy's not wearing a mask. What the hell? Like it's just, everything's just like how the mind, like, and I can't even imagine now going to the grocery store and just walking in and grabbing fruit next to some stranger, and I can't even imagine it. So I don't know if that will ever be a thing. But like just as far as shows though, they're the most disgusting places you play sometimes, and it's like you can't even imagine like going back into that environment, like just bathed in sanitizer, glistening of sanitizer, like I'm ready to play, and you falling off your base, and
Those white suits.
yeah, let's do this. Then you burn it on the way out because you're like, but have you lost venues in Calgary? Are venues gone? Is there a lot of still options, you think, once it opens? Or
Yeah, a lot of venues have closed down, which is sad. Ranchman's Club was the country bar of Alberta. It's huge, and we actually played the last show there before.
Really?
It was like March 12th, and we were the last band on that stage. And then their music is no more at Ranchman's right now. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. really don't have an answer.
Yeah, and that's like the other thing though. When you know the world's back to semi-normal, it's what's gonna be left to play, right? Like we're talking about playing outdoor festivals because outside of that, like what kind of bars are gonna be left that have live music? It's gonna be tough. It's a tough environment.
I know. I know.
I don't.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's
I think we all need to come together and find a way to make music alive
Build a
somehow.
it's
barn.
true.
Yeah.
No,
Build a barn. Power.
Creative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you done any sort of live internet shows at all over this last little bit?
Yeah. So when this all happened, we started doing a whole every Friday and Wednesday and Sunday we do a live stream show for the first few months, and then summer came, so we stopped doing that. And I'm lucky I play music with my partner Darren, so it's great that we could still do music together
Yeah.
during this crazy time. But yeah, so we did a lot of live streaming, and then I actually started a show called The Artist Behind the Music, and that's interviewing artists from all around the world. It started out just Canada, but then when I released my song in Australia, I was like, well, let's go over there too and meet the Aussies. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
and I have 70 episodes or something that we've done over the past few months. So as much as I love performing, I also love being the interviewer.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. We've been on the other end of it, and it's kind of nice being on both sides of it, right?
Yeah.
Being, and I mean, this is certainly not an interview by any chance, more just conversation than that, but it is kind of neat. And being able to just chat with so many different people and where they're coming from and what their experiences are, it's really different. And there's people that you would never ever be able to talk to otherwise or meet, right? So
Totally. I feel like I've met more people over this past year than I have in the past 5 years. Like,
Seriously, that's
Yeah.
that's a very valid point. That's so true. Where it's like now it's like we've been asked to go to Ireland we had an Irish band on, and they're like, come to Ireland when this opens, come to Ireland. We're like, yeah,
you've got a place to
yeah,
stay,
yeah,
right?
like
Which is really neat.
we're trying to mark where we can stay all over the world. It's like but it's
do
so
the math,
cool.
put little pinpoint.
Yeah, and just be like,
Exactly.
okay, so if I go here and I planned it properly, I don't have to pay for anywhere to stay. But no, everyone's great. Everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's kind of just just guessing and trying to figure out what to do next. And like you said about the album thing, I think that's like Spotify, for example. It's the reason stories aren't being told. Just to go back to that, sorry,
Yeah, no.
is because no one actually owns music anymore. And I think that's kind of like we always talk about the album dying, but I think the reason the full length album dies is because no one has like an MP3 of a song anymore. They don't even own it. They just stream it. So and that's something that I just that sucks. That sucks because you could have a hit single and you're gonna do a lot better than the guy who recorded 15 songs and is trying to make it for himself. And so it's just that hit and we are I don't know. We're releasing singles like crazy, and I think it's going to be the plan. And but we're like kind of like the same boat as you, where you said you record and then you make a plan. That is what we've learned in the last few months. To make that plan, that gap is huge.
It's crucial.
How to market yourself, how to get people to hear, and we're in that struggle right now, is getting people to sit down and listen. And it's tough. It's tough to do that. And then I saw your YouTube video. I was like, holy shit, like people are listening to this. That's awesome. And maybe the video is great. So do you find that your songs that accompanied with the video do better? I mean, obviously they would do better, but
I think so, because honestly, I was debating that for this go around. I'm like, do I make music videos? Are people watching? Like, is that what people want? What do people want? Who knows what people want? I feel like people want different things every day. What do I want? What makes me like light up, right? I love making videos and taking a story and putting it together and crafting an idea that seems unimaginable and watching it kind of unravel itself is always a really fun process. So I do think having that video as well as an audio component for a song to really give it its fullest life that it can have. And if you're going to make music and invest in music, you can't just like half-ass it. You have to do it. You have to embody the music and let that music take the journey that it wants to take. And if for someone just releasing an acoustic song and putting it on Spotify fills their soul and lights them up, then I think that's perfect. And I think we all have different journeys and different paths, different ways to success and different versions of success, right? So I think just really knowing what it is you want and then really staying true to what it is you want and what lights you up is when the success comes. And I think when we start doing it for, what does everyone want? Where should I go? What should I sound like? What should I look like? That's when we don't light ourselves up, and that's when we crumble and crush, and our success doesn't fulfill us when it's done in that respect.
Yeah, I know we talked about this before, even with Andrew's brother, before we kind of released everything and decided our battle plan. But that was one thing that resonated with me. It was just that whole, what do you want out of this? Like, essentially, what are you going to measure as success? Is it going to be 300,000, listens? Well, guess what? That's going to be a pretty tough go. If you think that that's going to be success, like, make it measurable and make it meaningful. And I think it's bang on, is make sure that you enjoy what you're doing at the end of the day, right? What makes, us go. And I think that's what Andrew and I have done, and obviously what you've done. But you don't have just a hand in music, do you? You're kind of, you've got some other stuff going on, some other projects, right?
Fingers.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know that when I looked, I was like, wow. I was like, this is impressive. How do you manage all this? I guess is my thought, because I was like, the music alone has got to be enough. But do you have, like, what are the other things still ongoing that you have?
They are, yeah. I am a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I love everything that I do, and it's like, when I look at what could I stop doing, I can't pick
You can't.
one. So.
It's more like, what could I add to this next?
And that's exactly it. I mean,
Yeah.
most recently, we started a digital marketing agency called Simply Socials Management, and so we run social media accounts and marketing. Now it's kind of turned into a PR agency where we're doing press for companies and for artists. We're doing graphic design and Facebook ads, and anything to do with the digital world we are on top of. And that's kind of my most recent venture, which is so fun. I love marketing. It's part of music too, right?
It is
100%. Yeah.
So that lights me up. And I have a great team of people. I don't do this all by myself. All the things I do, it's not all me. I have a wonderful team of people that have my back and are doing most of the heavy work. So I give props to all of them. But yeah, so
you have the ideas, and essentially it's like, all right, you guys figure this out.
Yeah.
I want to see this to come. I want to see this come to fruition. Figure this out.
It's not that easy, but yeah.
No, I hear you. So would that be your favorite one right now? I don't want to give you say favorite, but is that kind of the passionate one right now that's ongoing?
Geez, no, music for sure is
music
my
still is, yeah.
one. But yeah, that one's really exciting. It's really a new venture and it's exploding. So it's pretty cool nice. When you just start something and the energy is just drawn to it like a magnet. So that's pretty exciting. And then I have a fitness company as well called Live with Love, and I love that because it gets me moving every day. So I do live classes daily, and then I have an on-demand video library. And it was funny because we were just working on the record this weekend, and I was like, this is the first day I haven't been on Zoom in like a year.
Isn't that crazy to think that?
So crazy. But I love fitness and wellness and mindset. So all of that ties into music too, because if you're not at your best self, then you can't perform, you can't write, you can't be creative, you can't function to live your best life. And that's super important to me and a big motto that I have. So that Live with Love element is very, very huge just to my overall well-being. And then I love coaching and teaching and inspiring people. So teaching music is a huge part of my world as well.
Are you doing the teaching online as well?
Yeah,
right now?
Yeah, I do everything online.
How does that work? Like, how do you like? Is it odd not being in the same room as that person? Is there some sort of disconnect, or do you?
No, not anymore. Maybe at first it was kind of like, this is weird, but you figure out a system to make it work. And now I'm like, oh, it'd be weird if someone was here.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, I mean, in this way, you can reach obviously a lot more people. And it doesn't just have to be in Calgary either, which is huge.
Totally. And that's what I love. And it's really been my ultimate goal over the past 10 years is, how do I work without having to be in one location? Like, how do we create what I want to do and, have it be worldly so we can go on tour or travel or, go live in Florida for 6 months, probably Mexico over Florida, but that vision. So it's interesting that this world crisis had to happen to kind of bring my vision to reality.
True. Yeah, because you're right. You could take this anywhere. You don't have to, like, you could be on tour and still continue doing those things, right? Still coach and still do the fitness. It doesn't change, right? Just the change of scenery for everyone gets to change, and maybe a little bit of jealousy on their end. Oh,
I
you're
know,
there.
it's
You're in
like,
Australia now. Oh, you're in
Yeah.
Mexico now. Oh,
Yeah, with those live streams would have to be a different time zone, right? It should be
Totally.
like I'm doing it.
yeah. Yeah, don't make our mistake going Australia or
Yeah.
linking up for when we did our Australian podcast. I totally messed up the time change. It was 16 hours at the time
16,
before.
yeah.
And I think I had it at 10. I don't know what I was thinking. It was a miscommunication anyways, and all of a sudden our guest was like, "Oh, are you guys ready?" I'm like, "Andrew, let's go."
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
We're in
like
trouble
it was like he told me it was 11 o'clock at night, but it was actually at 5. So
Five,
just like just got
yeah.
home from work or just got off work, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just opening a beer." And he's like, "Well, we got to do the podcast." So I fucked up the time. Like, oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Oops.
So
My bad.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure
It's hard, the
Oh,
time
yeah.
there. I mean,
Yeah.
I was doing interviews in the middle of the night. It'd be like 3 a.m. here.
Yeah.
I'd have a nap, and then I'd wake up at 2:30. Then I'd perform,
God.
and then I went back to bed.
Yeah.
Very, very weird. But
Yeah.
I think it's so cool to be able to connect. So I'm like, oh, who cares what time it is?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then our last one on in UK, we just had daylight savings time, right? So we shifted forward an hour, and before, I mean, kind of touch basing ahead of time, and I was like, oh, we'll be, it'll be 12 Eastern for us. It'll be 5 p.m. for you, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh no. That's not it's gonna be 4 now. Like that 1 hour makes a huge difference, So
Yeah.
luckily this time we would be an hour early, but so
Right.
yeah, so that'd be all right. But it's funny. Just those little things when you start doing things across the world that makes it interesting. You have to pay attention a little bit more.
Got to buy a
I
world
know,
clock.
You got to buy a world clock. That's what one of
Yeah.
our guests says. He's got the world clock all the way across just to make
Yeah.
sure.
Totally. I think I need one of those.
Yeah, no kidding.
I now write my time like 10 p.m. MST, 8 p.m. or whatever.
For
backwards.
Eastern, whatever.
You know
Yeah,
what I
wherever.
mean?
I know exactly where you're going with.
Time.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
if
And
you're
I never in my life used to write like that, but now I'm like, you don't write the time zone, you might be in trouble.
you're screwed. Yeah. Are you? Is it 6:30 there right now?
7:30.
7:30.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
See,
Yeah.
I only know that because I think the Flames play at 10, which would be 8 in yeah,
Oh yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should have went with
Yeah.
hockey.
which is
It's
weird.
8 here. No.
It'll be 10 o'clock tonight, right? It'll be 10.
Oh, an 8
yeah,
there.
an 8
8
there.
Oh, fine. I
yeah,
don't
That's
know.
late.
I
yeah,
can't- yeah.
I'm
I'm in bed by 10.
it sucks being a Flames fan in Ontario because everyone's like, "Oh, did you watch your game last night?" I'm like, "Yeah, I made it through the first period or something like that." Right? It's like, "Oh," but that's one of those things where I went to going to Vegas and betting on games, and all the games are done by 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, but I'm done at that time. Like
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't really care for any of the other, like maybe playing cards every once in a while, but it's not my passion. I'd rather gamble on games. But I'm like, but at 10 o'clock, all the games are over. What am I going to do? What am I going to spend my money on? So, yeah, time changes even for fun is not always ideal. So,
True. I miss Vegas. That's one thing
Yeah.
I miss. We love going to Vegas, and it's so close. It's not that close, but it's
But
a
it's close.
destination for us as opposed to on the East Coast. So
yeah.
it's so fun. It's
Have you been able to play there a lot?
What's that?
Have you been able to perform there quite a bit?
We actually just go for fun.
You just go for
So,
fon?
Yeah, I love going.
She
there
could
for
go
fun.
on a trip. She's allowed
That's
to
well,
go.
I was just wondering.
I have to take a break sometimes. I always end up singing when I'm there, anyways.
See, I figured that. Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's right.
And
Yeah,
filming
we've been.
yoga videos. That's one of my favorite places to record videos. Is
Yeah,
in the desert. I find the desert just the most grounding, freeing place in the world, and that's part of why I love going down there, just to go hiking and in the desert land, and then you have just such a inspiring strip of energy that I just.
it's unbelievable. Yeah, we went for New Year's one year.
Oh yeah,
and
we
that-
used to go
that-
all the time for New Year's.
Oh, it's insane. I tell people all the time. I'm like, I've never been to New York for New Year's, nor would I want to. Just for the sheer amount of people. Although the last one might have been okay. Actually, you're in your
Yeah,
own little
last one
bubble.
was
It would have
good.
been okay. I would have been all right with that. But yeah, it was sheer pandemonium with the amount of people that were there. But it was really fun. It was really good. But yeah, and then we've been a couple other times after that, and I love Vegas. I've always said, even if you're not somebody who wants to gamble, it's a great place to be. Like you said, there's so much to do, so much to see. You know, you get out. It's such a cool place. It really is.
It's so much fun.
I've been to New York for New Year's.
For a minute.
I've never been to Vegas, guys. Sorry.
What?
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for this to mention this to you guys. And I was like,
You're out.
But...
See ya.
All right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
yeah. Never.
Next year,
Yeah,
as you're
well,
coming to the west, you can take a little drive down.
Take a dive
south.
down.
okay. Cool. Yeah. No, but I was in New York for New Year's, and it was the worst. It was literally the worst.
see.
Yeah, it was bad. Like by the time, I couldn't get anywhere close to Times Square. I was like near the park, actually, because what they do is Central Park, they have you go in from Central Park and funnel into Times Square.
Okay.
And by the time I went down there, it was like I got a block from the park, and I was like, all right, I'm going back to my hotel. I can't stay here. It was so shitty. It was great. It was a fun trip. It's just that the night of was like, yeah. So I went to Vegas. You know, I was 21 or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say Vegas is a little bit more accessible on New Year's.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't like crowds. I like performing for crowds, but I don't like being
in them. Yeah.
So I hate it. I really don't enjoy it at all.
That was the one thing I'd say. That was the reason why I would never go to New York and do New Year's. But that was it. It was just the sheer amount of people. I'm not a big crowd person. I don't like crowds during the holidays going shopping. I mean, I'm so glad for online shopping. But I'm usually, if I have to go, it's November. People always are like, "Oh, are you going to do like a Secret Santa?" I go, "I'm done my shopping. There's no need for me to go back out and fight with people. I don't fight with them because I just try and stay in my bubble."
Because you're Canadian. Because you're Canadian.
True. I actually would say sorry.
You say sorry. Yeah. Absolutely.
I just don't go, is what it is. But yeah, I don't like crowds either. I'm the same way, Crystal. So like for me, it's just like forget it. I would rather, just be a little far away from everything. But it was a cool experience. Don't get me wrong. And I almost think like somebody needs to try that once, be in that experience. But
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go. God damn.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Crystal, you said your partner writes with you. So you said he writes with you there?
Jared, yeah.
Is he in the band? Is he part of the? He is in the band. So like that's what I was gonna ask you about your band. How'd you find your band? And is it always the same people? They record the album with you?
No.
No.
It does shift and it does change. I like to keep a consistent group of players together because it's just nice when you have that energy together of like, okay, I know where you're gonna go. I know what happens when you make that face, and like just knowing the people that are on stage with you is really great. Which is why it's so awesome to play music with Darren, because I know him so well, more than anyone else in the world. So I'm like, oh, okay, we're shifting here. You can just follow the lead. Yeah. So no, but my record that we just did on the weekend here, a whole different group of guys than that usually play with me, but I'm sure these guys will move forward playing with me. Some of the top players in the province, in the country even, I would say, they're amazing musicians. So it's really, really awesome to have them part of it.
Awesome. So how's that work? I was always curious how that works. So do you write all the music and then go in and they learn your songs and like add stuff to it? Or is it more collaborative? Like, is it all you writing? Does it start with you?
It starts with me. It depends. Every writing session is different. So sometimes I'll play the guitar and we'll write. Some days, whoever we're writing with will play the instrument. Some days I'll play piano. Some days we'll pull up a beat and just write to a beat and create a song. Like one of the songs we just recorded was written to just a beat loop that we made and started singing along to. And yeah, so every process is different. And we actually have a recording studio here off the T-Ken Studios at our house, and so we do all the demos here and then bring them into the studio, and Spencer Shane is producing it. So he puts his wonderful magic. He's a genius for my sound, which is so fun to hear how he elevates everything just within one session. It goes from here to here, and then the band plays on it. It's just like fireworks. So it's definitely a
Awesome.
process in stages, but yeah, the root of the song starts in the
Starts
song.
there.
Yeah.
And then are you okay with when you have like the other band members in to record to like to have open to the collaboration part to it then as well?
Yeah, I think, the chord structure always stays the same, and,
Same.
it's their job to bring them in and put their sparkle onto it, whatever that
Right.
looks like, and, take the chords and run with
Run
it.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, solo, play, find fills, whatever it is you want to add to it that's, as a musician, their role. So yeah.
Absolutely. And how'd you find them to come in for this one?
Oh, well, for this project, we are working with Spencer, and he organized the whole entire band.
That's
But I know
nice.
all the guys as well. They're all Calgary musicians. Yeah, they're awesome. So just
That's cool.
reach out and make a phone call.
That's which is nice. That kind of works out all right.
Yeah.
Man, I never worked with a producer before. It'd be a different whole thing, I think, and I think it'd be very interesting. Just be like, this is the idea, this is this, and then to see someone else just take it and go, how about, adding this, or throwing the chorus like that. It'd be like such an interesting process. And I often wonder, like, if that, like, because Nate and I just did this whole thing kind of like in the rooms we're in right now, like we just had ideas
Yeah.
back and forth. So and then we just go, hey, how about an extra chorus here, blah blah blah. But like I often wonder, like, how different it would sound if someone else, that last step was like, hey, this is a good idea, but
It's
super
cool.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
neat.
And
Just to hear different people's what they hear in a song, right? And it could make it better, it could make it, the same or worse, whatever. But it's always cool to hear a different ear to a song. I think some of the best songs, they weren't written by one person, they're written by 6 to 10 people, and have multiple producers and engineers on the project. And it's more than just the one person. I think it's just like a business, right? There's a big team behind the player or behind the front that supports it. So, and another option too, I mean, you can always record your music and then send it off to somebody to mix it.
It's true.
Option, right?
Yeah. We've had a couple people on the podcast that do that. They'll record it and then send it off to have it, mixed and mastered and that.
Totally.
So it's definitely another great way of doing it as well. Who are your major influences? What made you get into country music other than obviously being in Calgary? I mean, that's, obviously I can understand maybe just being from Alberta, but what are your major influences?
Well, if I go way back, I love Shania Twain, but then I love Jan Arden. She's so good.
Yeah.
and Russell Broom actually played on my album, who wrote a lot of Jan Arden's music and played on many of her first albums, and still works with her now today, which is cool. Yeah, so Carrie Underwood I love now. Maren Morris, if we're kind of getting to more present, Kelsey Ballerini.
Yeah.
Love that pop country vibe. But I'm inspired by so many different styles of music. I love 90s music. That's some of the best, like the Big Shiny Tunes, 6.
Yeah,
those bad boys.
That was the best one. The yellow
one. Yep.
The yellow one.
I have. It's funny. There's a box behind me that is supposed to go to The Beat Goes On. I really want to get it over there. And I was like, I don't listen to these CDs. It's all on Spotify if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
But I look at some of those. I'm like, man, oh man, these were unbelievable albums, compilations.
I know, so good. Yeah, but I'm all over the map. Like, I love that kind of stuff. Then I love Women in Songs, and then I love Enya, and then I love Elton John. Like, it
goes everywhere. Yeah, and I think you almost have to be eclectic, right? I mean, it pulls in from everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you have a focus. I mean, your music is fantastic, and you can really hear that, the pop country, but just to hear all the different people in there. And it's funny because I say Shania Twain has come up. We've had Serena Haggerty on, and then Amberlia Brooke, and Shania Twain has come up. I think all three of them is in terms of a big influence, but I think that just shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen her live?
What's that?
Have you seen her live?
I have, yes.
Yeah.
In Toronto, actually.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there you go. The big city of Toronto.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
No, I'm from Toronto, so we always joke about when we talk about sports, because I'm a Toronto fan, he's a Calgary fan, so we always go back and forth. And He always bashes Toronto for whatever reason.
I do bash Toronto.
He lives 2 hours from it, but he bashes it.
It's the way it
Wash
goes.
yourself. You walk into Toronto, you might say sorry to somebody there.
I know. Someone's gonna be like, yeah, I know.
No. Yeah, but music in Toronto is like, it's, we talk about this all the time, but it's super top 40, super top 40.
Yeah.
Which is, and country, just, we talk about that as well, or country just kind of was like the being down like genre. And when I was growing up, like everyone was like, oh, I hate country, and then they just came and they just like, now they're like exploded. And it's awesome to see, because there's no reason. I mean, country, like older country, is very like literal. The lyrics are so very literal. It's like you could sing a song about just being angry and drunk and all that stuff, but it's great. It's great. It's so raw. I think maybe not so much now, but it's just a raw thing, and it's becoming like, it's like the top. I was saying, I could probably find 100 country artists that are like, before I find like a new rock band.
Yeah.
It's like right in the forefront, and it's kicking ass, and it's great. It's great to see. I would love more country to come out, and less bippity boppity music. Is that way?
Is that the best way to say it?
Bippity boppity?
Country's almost like the new kind of pop music.
It is.
It is.
There's just so many different, what pop used to be, maybe more so. It's good music that has so many different branches within it. You could sing an upbeat country pop song and then sing like a heart-wrenching guitar based song all together, and it just works.
It does.
Yeah.
And I think with the country music now too, which is, or even before, but it still has its roots of the instruments that are still there.
Yeah.
Right. You can go on stage and the instruments are still live and they're there and they're raw, and it sounds so good. And I think that's, where that country pop, it kind of fills that void of pop, but I mean, it brings country along with it. And I was a huge country fan growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
So it's just, for me, it's nice, and I kind of got back into it a little bit, getting older, but it's incredible to see it.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, if there's any song on a top 40 chart that has instruments in it, it'll be country.
Yeah,
it will be, because there's no rock songs on the top 40 chart, right? So yeah, it's
even alternative music has changed. Alternative music sounds like pop music. Like on stage we listened, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, and I think it's I don't know if it's like that's the way to go. I don't know if that's the producers are encouraging, that pop hit. But yeah, it has to. It's we talk about attention span. We're talking about songs right now. Like songs are being shrunk down in length, so they get more streams. And it's funny because our first song that we released was like 2 minutes and 17 seconds, and we were like, oh my god, it's too short. But it turns out that's like our most streamed song. So maybe it works.
Like your magic number.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So here I am trying to write 3-minute songs. Like, screw it. That's
and what were you saying too with the Foo Fighters with their latest album? It's only 9 songs.
Their latest album is 9 tracks. Yeah. Their latest album is 9 tracks. Yeah, and this is they call it an album. It's not just like an EP.
Right.
They call it an album, and they said they were released a year ago, but the pandemic hit, so they held off, kind of like what you did. But then they said we couldn't wait anymore, so they dropped it. It was 9 songs, and it was more like not dancey, but it was more like a different sound for them. It wasn't just.
I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, it's the most different sounding Foo Fighters album. Like the sound they've established. It's a little bit different than that.
Yeah,
I think that's what everyone's going. I think we're all going to go more upbeat and more just like kind of like hooky, very hooky. I mean, hooks have always been around, obviously, but like it doesn't have to be a chorus anymore. Like the verse has to be a catch. Everything has to be kind of catchy.
Everything. It's like it's all chorus. Chorus.
Yeah, it's a whole chorus. The whole thing.
Back, yeah. And that's going back to the album thing again. Is back in the day when people wrote like an album and released it, they had some filler songs. I think the idea of a filler song is gone. You can't have a filler song anymore. You're gonna lose.
Afford a filler song. I mean, really.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. You can't afford it just in terms of time and money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll lose fans of that filler song. It'll be like if someone will listen to your band, if they like you, listen to you, and if they like you enough, they'll go back to your catalog and listen to like a couple songs. You have a couple cracks at it before there's forget it. I just like that one song by that person, and then that's it. Like that opinion's set.
Yeah.
So you better hope if it's on Spotify, you know, like you don't have that filler, because you're gonna lose the fans.
Exactly.
So there's just so much to think about, and it's you know, when I was growing up, I was just kind of like, and I was playing music, I was like, I just want to friggin', you know, play shows, and I didn't think about this part of it. And then as I got older, I'm like, oh, I want to record, I want to get music out there, I want like this to take this moment, like I record this album with this band, and this moment's going to be there no matter what happens. We'll always have this. This is like a real thing. And I never had that. And then, you know, Nay and I did it, and now it's like, oh my God, there's so much more work after that. after that part. It's like, oh, the album was always the easy part, you know? You get your ideas out, you're stoked, you're recording, and say, oh, it sounds good. Then all the aftermath is kind of like the business part of it, where it's like a part-time job. Maybe it's almost a full-time job of just trying to figure everything out. And
For sure it is.
you know, I wish I knew that when I was younger. You know, I wish I knew I'd have taken some courses or some shit.
There's a lot of things, you know, that you wish you would have known, like life insurance. Like start that when you're young.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't pay into that when you're later on, when you've got issues and you think you're gonna need it. It's gonna cost you. Oh man. All right, we're almost out of time, but before we go, where can everyone find you, Crystal, so that way they can reach out? And I mean, by all means, plug everything you've got.
Yeah, the main source is crystalmcgrath.ca, is where you will find a link to everything I do. Website, but socials, it's all Crystal McGrath. You can type that name in and something pink and sparkly will show up.
Absolutely. The one thing that I say to Andrew, actually, when I first visited your website, I said, you walking across the top, like almost scared the shit out of me. At first I was like, what is happening? And then I was like, whoa, that's really, really neat. That's the first time I've ever seen something kind of, you know, of maybe of so much of a person, like just one person, right?
She strolls right in. She strolls right in.
It's just, but it's certainly like, it's eye catching, right? It works really well. So anyone that wants to check out that and have that experience, by all means, crystalmcgrath.ca.
And a little spoiler, if you watch the first 10 minutes of this video that we just recorded, I had your website up on my screen here, and I noticed that my glasses was reflecting you walking by. But it was like 10 minutes in, so I was like, oh, I should close that window. So I did. But I caught it. So I don't know if you guys caught it, but it was like you kept walking by while I was it was funny. You might, well, if you watch this again, you'll
watch the replay.
Yeah,
you'll watch the replay.
Watch my glasses. You'll see yourself a lot. But yeah, thanks so much. It was awesome having you on.
Yeah, I really appreciate
it for having me. Great to have you guys.
And we can't wait to hear this new music. Do you have a time frame when it's going to be released, or not yet?
I do. The first single from it is coming out in May, and then we'll release another one in the summer, and then the EP should be out late summer, early fall.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, we can't wait to hear it, and I hope for you and for everyone else that you can play some live shows really, really soon.
Yes.
Get back out there.
Universal live music coming soon.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you, Crystal.
Yes, thanks you guys.
Thanks so much.